2016, 36-year-old Markia Benson was living in Secane, Pennsylvania, a suburb of Philadelphia located in Upper Darby Township, Delaware County. At the time, she was working at a packaging company in Chester. She was the youngest of three girls, but her sister Monique said that she and their other sister Monica always admired Markia because she was a hard worker who had accomplished a lot. She spoke to Unsolved Mysteries in 2021 about her sister and said that they jokingly referred to her as a career college student because she was always taking some kind of class or enrolling in a new course. Markia, according to her sister, also loved to travel. She had been to places like Germany and Italy. Quote, she was young, she was vibrant, she was intelligent. At 36, she had accomplished more than most and had her whole life ahead of her, Monique said at a press conference after her sister's murder. But someone stole all of that from Markia and her family. On March 29, 2016, according to neighbors, Markia was seen arriving at home around 8 p.m. after picking up some dinner from a local restaurant. At the time, she was living in the New Orleans Park apartments located on South Avenue in Secane. The next morning, March 30th, 2016, Markia was scheduled to be at work. She exchanged some texts with her mom that morning as she got ready for work. Her mom said that nothing about the messages seemed out of the ordinary. The last text from Markia was around 8 a.m. After that, her mom assumed that she had gone on to work as expected. But later that afternoon, Markia's mom got a call from her job informing her that Markia never showed up for work, and she did not call out, which was completely out of character for her. After Markia's job called her mom, she called her daughter Monique, who told Unsolved Mysteries that she remembered her mom calling her and telling her that Markia hadn't shown up for work and had not called out. She said that she was freaking out because she knew that her sister didn't do stuff like that. She asked her mom if anyone had tried to call her, and when her mom told her that she had tried to herself several times call her with no answer, Monique said that her stomach sank. She was living in Atlanta at the time, and so finding out over the phone that something like this was going on and being unable to help was hard for her. Markia had a boyfriend at the time, and according to reports, he said that he also was texting her that morning, but like her mom, stopped receiving messages around 8 a.m. After that, he said he texted her again, but when she didn't respond, he figured that she was just busy at work. But Markia had never made it to work. After a few hours went by and no one had heard from her, a coworker of hers decided that she would go over to Markia's apartment to check on her. Her boyfriend had decided to do the same, and coincidentally, they arrived at Markia's apartment complex around the same time. It was around 4:30 p.m. when Markia's coworker and boyfriend get to the New Orleans Park apartments. In the parking lot near her apartment, they found her car, and so they knew that she was home. But when they go and knock on the door, no one answers, and the door was locked. Since neither of them had a key to the apartment, they went to the apartment complex office and explained to them that they were trying to do a welfare check on Markia and needed to be let into the apartment. The office agreed to let them in, and when they entered the apartment, it was obvious that something horrific had happened. Inside, there were papers all over the floor, and the dining room chairs had been turned over. Personal papers of hers were also out and spread all over the floor as if someone had been looking for something. The apartment was also extremely humid, and as her boyfriend made his way to the back of the apartment, he could hear water running in the bathroom as he walked past. When he went inside the bathroom, he found Markia. She was lying naked in the tub. She was dead. It was an unbelievable scene, but it was clear. Markia had been murdered. When police arrived at Markia's apartment, they began to process the murder scene. For these cops, this kind of murder doesn't happen often, and so what they found inside the apartment, for them, was one of the worst scenes they've ever encountered.
Chick what?
Detectives determined that the hot water had been running in the tub for at least 12 hours when Markia was found, which is why the apartment was so humid. When they found her in the tub, Markia was lying on her back with her face underneath the spigot. The hot water had caused burns on her face. Inside Markia's bedroom, detectives found blood on the walls and on her pillow and mattress. The amount of blood in the bedroom indicated to them that the attack had likely started in the bedroom. However, there were no real signs of a struggle. Nothing in the bedroom was knocked over, but they believed that Markia had been knocked unconscious and then drugged into the bathroom, which was right next to her room. They then believed that the killer placed her in the tub and turned on the scalding hot water and then left her for dead. Monique said that she remembers getting the call from her mom sometime after 5 p.m. that evening, telling her that they had found her sister dead. It was the worst day of her life. So, who would want to kill Markia? And why? An autopsy had determined that Markia had died from blunt force and sharp force trauma to her head and neck, which was complicated by immersion and burns that were caused by the water. It's believed that Markia was still alive when she was placed in the tub, but then later died from the blunt force injuries. They did not find a murder weapon at the scene and concluded that and then taken it when they left. The crime scene itself told police that whoever killed Markia had targeted her. This was not a home invasion. This was personal, and whoever had done it was angry. The papers that they found in the living room had been ripped up. They also found her passport ripped up, which made no sense to detectives. The killer had also knocked over a trash can in the kitchen. There was no sign of forced entry, which told police that she knew her killer. Both the sliding glass door and the front door of the apartment were both locked. And no one besides Markia had a key to the apartment. And so it was likely that she had let her killer in. And so police turned their attention to Markia's boyfriend, who had been one of the people who found her body. Since he was already at the scene, police brought him in immediately and questioned him. The boyfriend, whose name I don't believe has ever been released, told police that he had last seen Markia on the 27th of March when they had gone on a date to the movies, and that had been 2 weeks since he had last been at her apartment. He voluntarily gave his fingerprints and DNA and had an alibi for the day and time of the murder. He had dropped his son off at daycare that day and then went to work. Detectives said that he did not appear to have a motive and had been cooperative. Monique told Unsolved Mysteries that her family never suspected Markia's boyfriend because he was such a gentleman to her sister, and they never believed that he was capable of hurting her. After speaking to family and friends of Markia, they discovered that she had mentioned that a neighbor who had moved in across the hall from her was creepy. Markia told them that he had even knocked on her door one time with a bottle of wine and 2 glasses. Now, she said that she didn't want to be rude, so she had a glass of wine with him. But at the time of the murder, the neighbor who had moved into the apartment after separating from his wife had reconciled with her and moved back home. Detectives checked his alibi, and he was ruled out as a suspect. Once the creepy neighbor and the current boyfriend were ruled out, detectives looked into Markia's past and learned from friends and family that she had an ex that had allegedly been physically and emotionally abusive. Markia had broken up with the ex in 2013, but police had learned that she had recently been in contact with him. It's not clear what Markia and her ex were talking about during those conversations, but Monique believes that her sister still had feelings for her ex despite the issues. When police are told about the ex, they add him to their list of people they need to speak to. But before they could contact him, he came into the police station on his own. He told police that he had heard about Markia's murder on the news. And so he sat down with them and told them that he had last seen Markia on the 17th of March when they had gone out for drinks. But he said after they were done, Markia, in so many words, told him that she did not want to see him anymore. He said that he did speak to her again on the 26th, and that they argued about her not wanting to see him or hang out with him. But he said that during that conversation, they did make plans to hang out on the 29th. But when that day came, he said that he had to cancel. On the day Markia was murdered, the ex had an alibi, and police were able to confirm that through surveillance. He also voluntarily gave a DNA sample and fingerprints, and he allowed police to search his phone. When police looked through the text messages in his phone, they began to get a better picture of the ex-boyfriend, and although he appeared to have an alibi, he quickly became a person of interest after police took a closer look. In his phone, police found the messages on the 29th, including the one where he said he couldn't hang out. But after that, detectives said that there was no activity on his phone until late morning on March 30th. They said that it was strange that there was such a long period of time where there were no calls or texts coming to or from his phone. On the day Markia is murdered, police find that he left 4 voicemails for her. At 1:18 p.m., 5:29 p.m., 6:03 p.m., and then again at 10:13 p.m. Detectives said that in the messages, the ex was asking her why she wasn't answering the phone, and he sounded angry. But he also volunteered to take a polygraph test. However, when he took the test, it indicated that there was deception, and it was verified by 2 separate polygraph examiners. Detectives also said that he never showed any emotion for Markia, and that he got angry when they pointed out inconsistencies in his story. As of today, he remains a person of interest, but police have not found enough evidence to connect him to Markia's murder, and no one has been named a suspect in her murder. After the 1-year anniversary of Markia's murder, her story began to fade from the headlines, and there hasn't been any new information about this case. Detectives said that they have tried to search Markia's phone, but because it was encrypted, they've been unable to get into it. And so, this case has gone cold. Her family, especially her older sisters, refused to give up finding justice for their sister. Someone out there knows what happened to Markia, and her family deserves to know why her life was stolen in such a brutal way. Markia Benson was found murdered inside her home at the New Orleans Park Apartments on March 30th, 2016 in Chicane, Delaware County, Pennsylvania. If you have any information about her murder, please contact the Upper Darby Police Department.